is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is a weather hangout time, and that also, though, means that the weather team is getting together. So we have myself, meteorologist Diane Phillips, chief meteorologist Chris Vickers, and meteorologist John Burchfield. So we are all coming together for this March edition, but it might be spring, it might be winter. How are you guys feeling? Because we're up and down.
The ironic part about this one, if you followed along and you caught last week's episode, we talked so much about spring weather and just our thoughts of spring. And we're going to pull a fast one on you, right? Because we're back into the winter season, and we're going to be talking.
I think we jinxed it, you guys. I think we jinxed it. Yep. But this is that transitional period, you know, when Mother Nature can't quite make up her mind. We get some of those days where it just feels so nice, and it's a tease, makes you think that spring is here, and then, of course, it's back to reality Friday with that snowy alert day.
I think it was all that talk about ice cream that probably jinxed it, John. You're exactly right.
Yeah, we got the ice part, but, you know, the different kind of ice cream.
Right.
I just feel like maybe winter's, you know, catching up for all this lost time. You know, Mother Nature just kind of wasted January, February. So it's March, and we'll just make up. Do you think we'll make up all the snow?
We won't make up all the snow. We've got such a deficit that is about 22 inches below average for the winter season. Incredible, but interesting way to look at this one. And depending on when you're watching, we're going to be talking Friday snow, an alert day, and what you need to know about that one. Should we get about 5 inches of snow, if we did receive that, it would be the biggest snow event of the winter season here in the Toledo area. So ironic, we'll let you know if we think we'll get that number, coming up with some specific details on that. John, what you got coming up this week?
Also talking about March snowfall, late season. How common is it that we do get that snowfall late in the season? And sometimes it even creeps up towards April that we do get some accumulating snow. So we'll break down the likelihood, the climatology, what we've seen in the past, and some historic snowy Marches. It's happened before. We've gotten several feet of snow during the month of March.
It reaches a point, though, where you're just like, I just want it to be spring. I'm close to that point. Let's enjoy Friday's snow, and of course, we'll have the latest data on what to expect with that. But Diane, what's kind of your push point on that, where you're like, all right, I'm ready for spring?
At the beginning of winter, I'm always saying I'm ready for spring.
December 1st.
Yeah, December 1st. I don't like the cold, but I even know some of you have been saying, hey, I haven't really used my snowblower, I haven't used my shovel.
Could be a chance.
And then they're saying, please don't make me use it in the spring. Right. So we'll see how that works out for us as we go through this.
Can we do something that we've never done before so far in this Weather Hangout?
Why not?
Could we have a special guest show up a little bit later in this episode? Somebody that you're very familiar with, that's got some perspective on everything that's been going on around us, and a preview of what's coming up ahead. Now, while we're going to be talking snow, boy, Diane, they've just had loads of snow that have been showing up west of us. Incredible amounts of snow. And take a look at this one. If you're a little bit of a thrill-seeking kayak enthusiast, check this adventurous out. The mounds of snow out there in California. This is near South Lake Tahoe, California. The video was actually captured by a viewer out there that said it shows her son doing the first descent by kayak from the top of their house. Not kidding. They have so much snow, it is up to the rooftops of many of these homes. They shared this video just to make light of the situation. Many of them have been snowed in for days as they took their dogs for the walk to enjoy some winter wonderland. And it's really just incredible to see that it was winter storm after winter storm. John, we've been talking from a climate perspective. They needed the rain and the snow and the moisture. But look at this, indications where they've been snowed in, trapped in, roofs are collapsing, and people are literally stranded up in the mountains due to the heavy snowfall. Yeah,
really impactful. Of course, they need that moisture. There's a lot of moisture locked into the snow, but you can't have too much of a good thing. But at least they're having a little fun with it, with those kayaks down the snow. Will we see anyone kayaking Friday here in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan? We shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, so our next video, this is going to be coming from the Orange County Fire Authority, where crews said that they were checking in on residents of the San Bernardino Mountains. That was back just a day or so ago, and this was after the historic winter storm has been dropping several feet of snow there in parts of California, just like, you know, the kayakers were doing. So this footage, this is going to be showing the firefighters that were actually checking in on local residents, and they've been shoveling their way all the way to the front yard. Of course, our friends from the National Weather Service, they've been saying that parts of the San Bernardino Mountains have received more than 8 feet of snow during this historic winter season that wrapped up here at the end of February. Again, that was the meteorological winter season. Many residents there, they've been stranded for days as crews have been struggling to make it through all of that snow and to their driveways. So you can see it's hard to navigate that. It's not a very wide path. And I'm pretty sure you've even seen that Help Us that they carved there in the mountains. So definitely a lot of snow that you know, hopefully they can get kind of melted away in time.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, certainly amazing. And one last story coming out of the West. Utah's Department of Transportation shut down roads in Utah's Cottonwood Canyons. This was on Sunday, March 5th, so that crews could clear snow and avalanches. That's the theme of the day, is snow out west. And according to UDOT, State Route 210 was originally scheduled to reopen at 9:30 a.m. local time, but was pushed back a few hours as an avalanche mitigation and roadway operations were ongoing. UDOT urged drivers not to block the neighborhood access while waiting for the crew to clear. Wow.
Ooh, what a
The
video
power of
there.
Mother Nature there.
I may be in the mood now to talk a little snow of our own coming up here. We do have an alert day, depending on when you're watching, for this Friday. It is the month of March, and we aim to keep you informed about everything that's going to be happening, not only around the country, but also here locally, and how much snow we could come away. Stay with us. We're coming back after this quick weather fun fact to talk our own very chance at snow. Stay tuned. Very cool. So 6 branches, you got that right, but it begs the question, are any two snowflakes ever alike? Well, when it gets down to a molecular level, many scientists argue that no two snowflake is ever alike, even though they all do have 6 branches. Very cool trivia for you. Our alert day for what's ahead for our Friday storm system. Snow is set to return. We're talking accumulations that are going to be likely in the majority of northwest Ohio, all of southern Michigan, and there is an area south of Toledo as these storms typically go, where some cold rain will be possible. Just to set the stage, depending on when you're watching, we've had a quiet week. Much of our work and school week has gone off without much of a hitch, but we'll take you out to the west coast. That is where the storm is developing. Not a major storm right now, but it has now come onshore. Once this crosses the Rocky Mountains, that's when our area of low pressure is going to begin to develop, and it will make its way into our area as we get into Friday. Now, overall, this is a trend that we've been noticing over the past 7 days. Snow chances are going to be on the increase, with colder than average temperatures as we go through mid-March. Now, typically this time of year, we're talking low to mid-40s. We're very close to that early this week, but we're going to be taking a dive into the weekend, and you'll hear more about this. What is our average March snowfall? Spoiler alert on that one. Yes, we do get snow in the month of March. So wider perspective is where we're going to start with this one. Snow is going to come into the area. It's after midnight Thursday into early Friday. Some of the steadiest of that snow is going to be occurring as we go through daybreak Friday. It is suspected that we may have travel impacts Friday morning as we do see snow-covered roads and potentially some school delays and closures that will be showing up into Friday. Get very close, though, to that rain-snow line, which will tease the southern edge of our viewing area, and I'm going to have a very close look at that coming up in just a few moments. Through Friday afternoon, area of low pressure that moves across Ohio looks to stay just south of us, which keeps most of our area in the form of snow as we go through Friday afternoon, even into Friday evening. Winds will pick up as that area of low pressure departs, and could see a little blowing and drifting of that snow as things turn chilly Friday night and into Saturday morning. Now, I'm going to take you back through this, but on a local level, we're going to have dry weather all day Thursday. Good chance to soak up some sunshine through Thursday afternoon. A cooler lake breeze is going to keep some areas in the 30s along the lake shore, and that lingering cloud cover will fill back in through Thursday afternoon and into Thursday evening. Here's that snow arriving, and again, it's after midnight into Friday morning. Notice some of the deeper blues. That's going to be indicating some steadier snow and impacts to travel. There's the clock, 6 a.m. If you're up in southern Michigan, northwest Ohio, you're waking up to snow. Now, there is the chance far south of Toledo, and we're looking down toward Wyandotte, Crawford County, southern parts of Seneca County, into Huron County, where may begin to mix in with some rain. That will limit the overall snow totals far to the south. We're still expected, though, generally to stay all snow in the Toledo metro and up across southern Michigan. So your alert day Friday, we're talking mid-30s, some steadier snow showers may mix in with a little rain south and east of the Toledo metro. Then late in the day, the breeze will begin to pick up. Mid-30s is all we're expected to see for daytime highs. Total snow accumulation, 3 to 5 inches is what we're going to be looking at for that alert day snowfall Friday. That is going to be all of southern Michigan. Our northern tier or 2 of counties here in northwest Ohio, that includes Williams, Fulton, Lucas County, also toward Defiance, most of Henry County, most of northern and central Wood County, and out there toward our lakeshore areas. Now, the cutoff is going to get dramatically lower the farther south you get. 2 to 4 inches will include Ottawa and Findlay. You get along and south of Route 224. That's the approximate rain snow line that we're expecting to set up. It could result in just a slushy inch or 2 south of Route 224. That would occur before daybreak Friday, before it does change over eventually to some rainfall. Now, impacts to this system on Friday. Let's send it over to meteorologist Diane Phillips. And Diane, I almost feel like we've got to remember once again how to drive in the snow, because we haven't had much practice at it so far this winter season.
Yes, I can definitely tell between these storms that we might still have a little bit of rust. We haven't knocked it all off yet. So if you're going to be driving Friday morning, you're going to want to really brush that rust off fast, because that's when we're anticipating some of that heavy and wet snow to be at its steadiest point, at those higher rates of that snow coming down. So of course, that is why we have that alert day for your Friday with that accumulating snow that's more than likely going to be impacting how you kick off our Friday, or just a little bit closer to that weekend. So this is what we're going to be eyeing, of course, as far as that accumulating snowfall. Like Chris said, those roadways are also going to be something that we'll be mindful too. So with those snowfall totals, like he was saying, if you're into southeast Michigan and even into the northern portion of northwest Ohio, you're eyeing 3 to 5 inches of that snowfall. That's actually going to be falling before sunrise, and then that steadiest time is going to be right around sunrise. So just keep in mind that we don't have that sun angle just yet to kind of melt that snow down. So roadways, we anticipate that they're going to be slow even into the morning, and by the afternoon we should start to see some improvements on those roadways. But still, it's really going to be the commute Friday. So maybe as far as school, we'll be keeping an eye to the exclusive school delay hotspot map. So make sure you tune in to WTOL 11 Friday morning as the system is rolling in, because like I said, that's when we're going to be seeing our heaviest snowfall rates. That's when they'll be at their most intense points. But by Friday midday, the roadways, though we will start to see them be snow covered, our snow removal crews and of course those working the roadways, they're going to start to then gain some ground as our snow won't be as steady. It'll be a little bit lighter as far as intensity, and even the coverage will start to break apart as this system will move away. So that midday point is going to kind of when we turn the corner to get through this system as far as your roadways. But then by the afternoon or even that evening commute, we will start to see those improving conditions. So your Friday night plans, of course, keep an eye to those roadways, but still plan that the system won't be bothersome maybe if you're going to head out for the weekend, or if you have family coming in for the weekend either. Now, more as far as those impacts, of course, the travel Friday morning, going to have a little bit of a slower start, so give yourself a few extra minutes. Set that alarm a little bit early, because that snow, it's going to be wet and heavy. Keep that in mind as you're going to have to clean that up. Use the snow blower, might be throwing a little bit of those ice pellets, it seems like, because the snow is just going to be so wet and heavy. But also keep in mind that when we do have that wet and heavy snow, it'll be coming down at such a fast pace that visibility at times on Friday morning could be reduced just because of the intense snowfall. So just something to keep in mind if you are headed into work during that 5, 6, even 7 o'clock hour. And another component, the winds. This isn't majorly a windstorm, as we'll be finding those wind gusts around 25 to 35 miles per hour. But those along the lakeshore, you're going to be picking up those winds at a little bit of a higher speed. So just keep that in mind for those impacts, not only just roadways, but also the winds as well. So here's our 3 things to know. You always see this with every alert day. So we'll have that steady snowfall. It'll be mainly in the morning before becoming less intense. Secondly, we'll have those snow accumulations, eyeing those to be around 3 to 5 inches at most for our northern counties, just north of the metro and even along the Maumee River. Of course, that map that Chris was showing, that's always going to be on the WTOL 11 weather app as well. And then finally, you'll be tuning in on Friday morning as we're going to be eyeing that tricky travel. We'll help you get out the door with checks of radar, but also we're going to make sure that you have that traffic tracker loaded up as well. Even the full article for the 3 things to know is up on WTOL.com, so make sure you head there after watching the Hangout, though. We want to make sure that you don't miss out what we have coming up next, because I know meteorologist John Burchfield, and even, wait, that special guest is also supposed to be here. So make sure you stay with us. We'll have more coming up with our Weather Hangout.
Well, 5.3 inches of snow. We are no strangers to late season and springtime snowfall around these parts. And even if our forecast does verify on the higher end of the spectrum, that'll put us about normal for where we should land in that March snowfall. Late season snow is commonplace around here. So what does a typical March have in store? Some of you may think of March as a season of transition, where we're slowly flipping that switch from winter mode into spring. And in some ways that is true. We do average 5.3 inches of snow. Temperature-wise, the month of March does start to turn a little more spring-like and mild, as our average high for the month is 48. During the month of March, we see some rapid changes between the beginning of March and the end of March, which starts to resemble more of the spring season. Overall, March is the fourth snowiest month of the year, falling behind December, January, and February, but still does bring us a decent amount of accumulation on average. Now, some years really flip the script with some exceptional snowfall totals. 1993, if you were living in Northwest Ohio and southeastern Michigan back then, 2 decades ago, you may remember almost 18 inches of snow accumulation, certainly an extraordinary late season snowfall. In more recent memory, 2008, that year also brought us quite a bit of late season snow, checking in at 17.4 inches of March snowfall. Some of these other Marches from many, many years ago, including 1916 and 1899, also brought us a good deal of snow, and some of those years in the late 70s also late season snow. 15 inches fell in 1977. There have been many Marches with only a trace of snowfall, and what that means is not even enough to measure with a ruler. 2010, 91, 46, 27, and 1908, all of those are tied for the least snowy March on record, each of which just brought a trace of accumulation. And what that means is we got some flakes that fluttered from the sky, but nothing to write home about and nothing that can be measured. If you're interested in more information about March snowfall and also some changes in this time of the year, I've got a more in-depth explanation coming up in this week's edition of the Climate Friday newsletter. Subscribe on WTOL.com/email. Now, at the beginning of the show, we mentioned we've got a special guest coming up, and we have our meteorologist Ryan Weekman here to explain what the rest of March may have in store and some changes in the weather pattern that may bring us some cooler than normal conditions. Ryan?
Hey there, meteorologist Ryan Weekman wanted to talk about a cooler outlook ahead following one of the warmest Februarys in Northwest Ohio history. Things are about to take a turn. Maybe you've got that itch for some spring weather. You're going to have to put that on hold, as it does look like some cooler air is going to be settling in for the month of March. Let's kind of break this down for you, show you what we're talking about here. During the month of February, the West Coast was battered by some storms as the jet stream dipped across the western part of the U.S. This allowed for kind of warmer air for the eastern part of the U.S. and gave us one of our least snowy Februarys on record for our area. That west coast pattern, it's now broken down. It's more of a traditional flow of air from central Canada to the midsection of the U.S. That's what's going to give us a chance for some chillier weather to return. For the next few weeks, you might want to be watching closely for frequent outbreaks of some cold, fast-moving systems here across the Great Lakes. But as we get towards March, typically, we are still talking about the chances for snow. Look at this. We're still way behind on our snow for the season, not even to 11 inches so far. If you want to go back through the March history book, 6 times in history, Toledo has not reported measurable snow for the month. We've already seen that come and go as we got some light snow last week. But keep in mind, this year we're running way behind on snowfall, with the record for the least snowy season set back in 1919 at just over a foot. Something else to keep in mind, time to spring forward, or just about it. This Sunday, clocks will be adjusted forward 1 hour here. Our sunrises go from 6:59 in the morning to near 7:50 in the morning. But we do get extra daylight in the evenings, and look how things change over the course of the next few months as we head towards summer.
Well played, Ryan. Get the bad news out of the way first, and then remind us that spring is almost here. But as he said, the next couple of weeks could feature some March snowfall as well as colder than normal conditions. And as Ryan alluded to, don't forget we spring forward this Sunday. And even though you lose an hour of sleep, you gain some daylight in the evenings. Our sunset time going to be at 7:37 p.m. after the time change. Boy, won't that be nice. On Sunday, you'll see the sun well past 7:30, and it'll stay light out till about 8 o'clock p.m. p.m. after the time change. We are gaining daylight quickly. Currently 2 minutes and 47 seconds of added daylight per day. And we look at that peak of daylight that happens during the month of June, where we get 14 plus hours of daylight. And then, of course, it wanes back down, moving towards the winter months. But we are on the upswing now that we're in the month of March, and things are trending up in terms of seeing more daylight. That being said, the next couple of weeks could feature some more characteristically winter-like weather. We'll reconvene and cap off this week's edition of Weather Hangout after this last fun fact.
Incredible to think about that when we've only had, what, about 10 inches, 11 inches of snow?
Not even a foot. Yeah.
As of right now, incredible, yeah. One thing I've noticed, John, coming off that, I did notice the increase in daylight has been incredible, and it really will accelerate, especially as we spring forward.
Yeah, it certainly brightens your moods. You get a little bit of daylight after work, or if you're more of an early bird, you get some sunlight before work. And like we said, after the time change, it's going to be light out to almost 8 o'clock p.m. And there's that ice cream weather. Even though it's going to be snowing Friday, you know, that extra daylight in the evening gets you ready for the spring season.
I know. We said that our talk of ice cream may have, spoiled it. So if we're going to have the snow, then we might as well have some ice cream. Maybe
3 to 5 inches of Mr. Freeze.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
And I say, you know what, bring it on one last time. But beyond that, I think maybe we'll get a little cranky over the snow once we get into late March or early April.
And not just us getting cranky. We all might just be ready for that spring bloom, those signs of spring.
We've already seen some of those signs of spring with how mild this winter has been.
And how about that rare sighting of meteorologist Ryan Weekman? We appreciate him being part of our Weather Hangout. This week in this edition, we love that we could keep you informed on not only what's happening across the country, but here locally in this week's Weather Hangout, whether you're watching right now on WTOL 11+. We love having you along there, or YouTube, a great resource to check out so many of our Weather Hangouts, John's Climate Friday, and great forecasts that we produce every day, Diane, for you on YouTube and on WTOL 11+. Have a great day and stay tuned for more to come from your WTOL 11 weather team.